Hey guys, my name is Lilly and today I have a very special guest. Today I have the Blackout expert of Austria sitting next to me and we are making this interview in this car. It's my car and that's because outside we have a storm going on and it would be impossible to film because then the audio would be disrupted. So Herbert, thank you for your time and thank you for doing this interview. Just about your background, so you have been with the Austrian military and then you have taken time off to research the topic of a blackout and now you are working in this field for 10 years?
Yes.
So how likely do you think it will be that we experience a widespread blackout in Europe in the next 2, 3, maybe 5 years?
I am dealing with this topic since 10 years, as you told. And as the development has occurred the last 10 years and is forecasted for the next years, I am expecting such an event, widespread power blackout, but not only power blackout, but also supply chain collapse within the next few months, maybe hopefully only years, but we are in a very critical situation already.
Within a few months, you said? So maybe this year we will get a full-on blackout in Europe?
This year hopefully not, but it could be next year. But it's not so important if it's next year or we said date, but it's more important, are we prepared or are we not prepared? And at the moment we are not prepared to handle such a major disaster.
Okay, so 20 years ago it was not so likely that we would experience a blackout, so we had a pretty stable network, or the grid is very good in Europe. But now the situation has become more critical. And what's the reason for that?
Yeah, it could have happened also 20 years ago if somebody would have tried to do it.
Okay.
So that the system is also vulnerable. But in the last 10 years we have changed many aspects in the European power supply system, especially with the energy transition and also digitalization. And therefore the reason is that the danger is increasing. We have different aspects like the energy transition because wind and PV production is not always available, and we have a problem that we have not enough storage systems to compensate this different production time. This is one major topic, especially because we are switching off more nuclear and coal-fired power plants, and so we have more or less reserves to compensate this. This is one topic. The other topic is we have increasing amount of energy we are consuming because of electromobility, digitalization, or also heat pumps. Mm-hmm. Then we have a power market who is not addressing the system stability but only market interests. I think this is one of the most dangerous topics, and this will increase also within the next years because of regulation. And we have increasing more extreme weather conditions, aging infrastructure, also increasing cyber attacks on infrastructures, maybe also on the electricity system. And I'm expecting most likely a system collapse because of complexity overload. Mm-hmm. Too many aspects are changing and not in a systemic way, and this is very dangerous from my point of view.
Mm-hmm. So first, we have a higher demand. I believe that the Tesla 3 is now the most sold car in Germany, even before the Golf, which was the number one. So now it's Tesla. So people are buying electric cars, but those need a lot of electricity. I don't know how much they need, but it's really a lot. And if everybody would switch to electric cars, we probably would not have enough of electricity, right?
Yeah, but it's not only a problem of the electricity car, it's more of regulation, how do you organize the things around. Because at the moment we are only connecting it to the grid and like to load very fast. This will not function if we scale the amount of cars. If you have decentralized storage systems, batteries, huge storages, it would work. But at the moment
we don't have the storage right now.
we don't have it.
Okay, so how can I store this energy that we would need for a higher demand in electricity? What do we have to build to be able to cope with this higher demand?
We are trying to install battery storage. This is one way, but the amount of energy we are consuming at the moment, you can't store with batteries. So we would need many different storage systems, from batteries, but also pump storages, which is very efficient. But we don't have enough mountains or regions where this will functioning, and also people don't like these infrastructures. It's also a topic of hydrogen, but at the moment it's more a hype, because it's very inefficient, and so we would need more new technologies, but at the moment we can't see that this will be available in the near future. And so we are switching off the old fossil power plants, and we have no solutions on a big scale for the new world, and so the gap is growing.
Yeah, and on top of that, I heard that the gas price has increased, right?
Yes.
So now we have less gas in our reservoirs, and if this winter turns very cold, which can happen, then we might have a problem in February or March.
Yes.
So that's when the natural gas would run out, and then we wouldn't have natural gas anymore for our gas plants, and that's a big problem, right?
Also part of the problem, yes.
One part.
But one part.
Yeah.
But this would.
So now in Germany they're turning off 3 nuclear plants and also a couple of coal plants.
Yeah.
And that's because of political decisions. Yes. Okay, so we have to accept that. But is there no way that we can build something else, like more a different kind of pump storage, hydro plants or something like that?
It takes time to build something like that, and we see it now in Belgium, because they also would like to shut down the nuclear power plants until 2025, and they would need 3 new gas plants.
Okay.
And 2 of them were stopped already in the planning phase, because people don't like it. But nobody knows where the electricity should come from if this is not built. No? And with hydrogen or with pump storage, you need time to build these storage systems. It needs many years, and we are not even planning it, and then it still takes time to build them. So we have a lack of capacity within the next years.
So when I'm the leader of Germany, can I say, oh, we don't have enough of electricity, so let's just keep the nuclear plants running and don't turn them off? Can I not do that?
They could do this, but it's too late, because they have no personnel anymore, because everybody is planning since 10 years this date that it will stop, so there's no new personnel.
And also maybe not the nuclear material that they need.
No spare material. Not only the nuclear, but also everything else. No, from the power plants.
Okay.
The devices.
Okay.
And
so it would not be possible to just say, oh, let's just let them run, because you have to plan something like this. No?
Yeah. So it's already too late.
So they are there, but they cannot function anymore.
Yeah.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So now what's the real issue with the renewable energy sources? So we have wind, we have more and more wind plants, and also we have solar PV. What's the problem with those? What's the big challenge with the renewable energy sources?
They are not every time available when we need them. And you have to know that the electricity system is only functioning if you every 31.5 seconds per year you are able to produce enough or so much as you are consuming. And if this is not in balance, then the system can collapse or will collapse. And so the renewable are not available. You can't control them when they are producing. They are producing when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing. And this is very volatile and not constant available. And so we would need enormous amount of storage systems or other plants who can compensate this. But the problem is, if you have a huge power plant like the old one we have, you can't start them anytime as you like and stop them again. So this will also cause damages and problems. And so we have no really clue how to do this. And the problem is that most decision makers are thinking, if you take a paper and count this, it will functioning, but the question is, will it function also technically on a local level?
Okay.
Because in average it is everything fine, and on the paper it is everything fine, but the reality is different.
Okay, so we have a higher demand of electricity, but we have less electricity produced, so the likeliness of a blackout has increased.
Yes.
Okay.
Because of the complexity of the whole system, and it would still possible to prevent a blackout if you make huge brownouts. Yes, brownouts. This means that you disconnect enterprises or regions to prevent the whole collapse of the system. If you have enough time and you see, okay, the next week there's no wind, no sun, and we have not enough energy, so you can do this. But a blackout happens immediately because something goes wrong, and the technique is not able to cope or to stop it right now to escalate.
Okay, so a blackout is sudden and it's a completely switch off of the electricity, and the brownout is a controlled switch off of a certain region so that you don't need so much electricity and keep the main system running.
Yes.
So that's a brownout, and I think that's what's happening in China right now, right?
Yes, they have brownouts at the moment. There are different reasons. One is that they don't have enough coal because they are importing that from Australia and they have a conflict and they stop the import. And on the second, they want to reduce CO2 and they said, okay, we have consumption enough CO2 this year, so we stop production and make this brownout.
Okay, so at least the brownout is controllable and they don't turn off the electricity for a long time, but only for a
few hours.
A few hours, so you can survive a brownout much easier than a full-on blackout, right?
Yeah. Because a blackout is a chaotic stop of the system, and the power plants are switching off because of protection their physical systems, and so it's
completely gone. So what I don't completely understand is, okay, we are in Austria, we have a electricity system like all of the other countries in Europe, and I heard that if something big and major happens, then all of the countries in Europe will go down, Austria and also all the other countries, and we cannot disconnect in such a short time from the other countries. So if one country goes down, we will all go down. Is this correct?
Almost, hopefully not all countries. So we have a system that this is reaching from Portugal to Turkey and from Italy to Denmark. This is the whole system with 36 countries involved. And if there's a major disturbance, it could happen that most of them will switch off because of security reason. And the hope of the technician is that not all countries will stop or break down, but nobody knows how far it will reach. And at the moment we have the situation because of the power market that we more and more in Austria also are importing electricity from neighbor countries. And at the moment we have around the half of our consumption is import.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And therefore if something goes wrong, we have not enough energy or not enough power plants in place or running to stop this problem. And so it can increase the whole area which is affected because of this trading system.
So are there other reasons why a blackout could happen? Are there natural causes, for example, not only the technical stuff but also natural causes?
Of course, the main problem is that we have so many technical problems already, and the grid operators have to intervene so many times. 10 years ago it was 2 times per year, and 2018 in Austria it was on 301 days necessary to intervene, and this year we have around, I don't have the last figures, but we have been by 170 days or like this. So they have to intervene very often to prevent this blackout, which hardly anybody is noticing because it's not that open communicated. And so a blackout is not happening because of a singular event, but because of accumulating of different events. And so if you have permanent stress in the system, it could be an extreme weather condition which is disturbing something or destroying something. It could be a cyber attack or a physical attack. It could be a problem with aging infrastructures. Something is breaking down, and it could trigger this chain reaction. And so it could be very different. But it's important, it's not a singular event, it's the accumulation of more events.
So, and let's say if there's a CME from the sun, it could also disrupt the grid completely?
Completely not, but important parts, and not only the grid, but also other electronic devices. So at the first place I would expect satellites. And if also only parts are destroyed in a very interconnected system, it will cause major damages, and if it's large enough, it will mean a reset to the whole societies, which is affected.
So it means back to the Stone Age?
Yes.
Probably?
Yeah. Yes.
So you say that the satellites would be affected in a CME event, most likely?
Yeah.
But if there's no CME, let's say it's a technical blackout or due to a hacking attack or something, the satellites would still work in a blackout, right?
Yes, because they are standalone in the space, and so they would work, so GPS would work.
So even if there's a blackout and I still have a battery in my phone, I can still navigate with the GPS?
Yes.
For some kind of time?
As long as I have battery.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about the cell towers? How long would they last?
Also it is to expecting that the mobile phone system and also landline and therefore also internet will collapse within minutes. Maybe in some areas a little bit longer, but not very long.
Okay, that's pretty short. So I always thought it's about 20 minutes.
Yeah, maybe. But in cities you have many microcells, and they are not.
They don't have a backup generator.
They have no backup generator and no battery, so they will switch off immediately.
Okay.
And so some base stations will work a little bit longer, up to 2 hours. But if everybody is connecting there, it's an overload and it will not function anymore.
So even if it's working, even if they have a backup power, there will be so many calls that they will still go down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next thing is the radio will still work?
Yes. So this is very, very important. In Austria it will be possible to broadcast at least 72 hours, in some areas much longer. So if you have a radio, you can still get information from national level what is going on and to get some information.
Okay, how would I know if there is just a local blackout or a widespread continental blackout?
There are 4 indicators. First, power is off. Then you take your mobile and try to reach somebody who is far away to get the impression, is it larger? Or if you have no connection anymore, then you have the second indicator. Then switch on your radio. Also a car radio is a battery radio. And switch to Ö3 in Austria because it's national-wide available, and they will broadcast traffic news. And this is the 4th indicator. We have to stop the traffic on the motorways because of the tunnels. They have to be closed because of security reason. And if you listen or heard that many tunnels are getting closed, you can think it's a blackout now.
So in a blackout situation, they will close all of the tunnels. We have a lot of tunnels because we have a lot of mountains. That basically means you are stuck on the autobahn.
Yes.
And then you cannot get off the autobahn anymore.
For the first moment, you will stop, but I think it will be organized or self-organization that you turn and try to get to the next.
To the next exit, if you can, and if the people are still in the car, because some people might leave the car and then you are blocking the street.
That's the biggest problem. Also in the cities, because if people are stuck very long, they could lose their nerves and go on foot, and the car is still standing there.
Okay.
This could be a problem. Yes.
Another question that I have is the sewage system. For example, in Vienna, if you're living in a big city, what will happen to the sewage? Will it still work or will it get stuck? And then you have all of the sewage coming back in your toilet, or?
Yeah, it's very different where you are living. In Vienna, we have the luck that the water supply will work most likely in most parts, not everywhere. In bigger houses, often not in the higher.
In the skyscrapers.
In the skyscraper.
You won't have water on the top because it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't have enough of pressure.
Maybe up above the 6th floor, it could get already problems. So more often in Vienna, but you still have on the ground water.
Okay.
And the sewage system is more often a problem because you need very often pumps. In Vienna, we have also luck that most parts are not pump-free. But it depends still if you're in a skyscraper and even smaller one, and they need a pump and they have no electricity. This would mean if everybody uses his toilet, the guy in the ground floor will have a problem.
Because it's all connected, it will come out at the toilet in the basement of the skyscraper.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's really crazy. I've never thought about it.
Yes.
How long will it take to switch on the grid and to get everything working again?
We have different phases. The phase 1 is the electricity goes off within seconds, maybe, or a few minutes throughout Europe. And then it will last different time to restart the system. In Austria, we have the luck with good preparation and the pump storage. So we are expecting that it will last around 1 day, maybe up to 30 hours to restore the power supply system in Austria. On Europe level, the expectation is around 1 week that the whole system is back again. And even as long as it's not stable enough, it could collapse again. So even if you have, after a few hours or 1 day in Austria power supply, it could still happen that it will collapse again.
So basically we then turn off everything, then we make a border, electrical border around Austria, and then we only restart the grid in Austria, and then we try to reconnect to the other countries. And with this reconnection, it can happen again that we get a blackout again.
Genau, this is the point. This reconnecting is very dangerous.
Okay. So and what about the black start capability of the power plants? Is it easy to restart a big power plant, or what does it take to restart most of the power plants?
As most power plants are not able to restart without electricity from the grid. And we have the luck with 2 huge pump storage systems which will start. They have generators to start the control system, and then you can start the power plant. And then they will produce enough energy to take to rebuild the grid, and then new power plants can be connected, new consumers, and so this will be built up. But the power supply system is only the first problem, the phase 1. The second phase is how long will it last to restore the telecommunication systems. And the expectation is that it will still last days because of hardware damages, which are to expect. And also, if everybody tries to connect to his family, we will have overload and no functioning telecommunication system. So we have to expect this will still last some days until we have a stable telecommunication system. And just then you can start in production, supply chain, and so on. And so it will last to the second week until supply can restart again. And this is the most dangerous thing in this whole topic. It's not the power cut, but it's the supply chain collapse, which will last for weeks, months, and maybe even longer to restore the whole systems.
So basically for us, a blackout is not really dangerous because we could just camp in our flats and in our houses. If we just have enough of water and food and a camping cooker so that we can cook food and some heating devices, then we can easily come over a blackout. But the problem is that then the supply chain breaks down and we won't have enough of food supply anymore. So everything that takes longer than 3 days will become very dangerous, right?
Yes.
Because most people don't have more food at home than for 3 or maybe 4 days.
Yes. So 1/3 of the population in Austria, but also in Germany, there are some studies, have only for 3 to 4 days supply. And the second third can do this only for 1 week, also has enough supply at home. And this would mean that we in Austria will have around 6 million people after 1 week which are starving and in real troubles. And the problem is that those people are not coming to work to restart the systems. And so we get in a devil circle, and this is the dangerous.
And what about the hospitals? So when you're, let's say, for example, you get in a car accident because the traffic lights are off in a blackout, right? So it's a very dangerous situation. So you get in a car accident because, that happens. And then you cannot call the ambulance because the phone is not working. And the streets are blocked because of all of the cars that are just standing there. How will you get to the hospital, and how long can the hospitals work? How long do they have electricity in Austria?
The regulation says 24 hours.
24 hours only?
Yes.
Wow.
As emergency generators for 24 hours. Some of them have now more, up to 72 hours. But this is not a problem of a hospital. A hospital has many different problems in a power blackout. The first thing is you need a constant supply, and also to transport the sewage to other places, and also to get medicine and so on. And also food supply is not very good. And then you still have the problem with the personnel. How long will the personnel stay? If the family is not prepared, will come somebody of the personnel the next day. And so we will face very soon a big problem in hospitals. So we have to reduce everything in the hospital to a very limit to only survive as a system and not to help many people. It will not be possible.
But they have backup generators which will run. That means they have light. So let's say there's a blackout, everything is dark, and then the only light is the hospital. Where will the people on the street go? They will try to get into the hospital to get to warmth and to light. And
because this is the wrong communication, because they are telling in the public we are prepared, which is wrong. They are prepared for a power cut, but not for a blackout. And the second thing is, especially now in the cold year time, that many people will try to get there to get supply or help, and so you have very soon a chaos situation.
Wow. So is the Austrian military prepared for this, and the police?
No. Also, they are communicating this now, that they are starting with preparations, but the public information is they will be ready 2024. So
if something happens before that time, it will be very bad or chaotic, let's say. Or
it will be anyway chaotic, and we have the expectation that somebody must do something. We all have to do something. We have to prepare, and if we work together and try to handle the situation, it will not escalate. And even if police and military forces are working, they can't help 9 million people in Austria or
80 million in Germany. So we don't have enough of personnel to do that. So the best solution is if every citizen prepares themselves. They should get food for at least 7 or 14 days, water the same thing, and some way to cook and to heat the house. So that's the most important thing, right? So if everybody would have that, then the crisis would only be half that bad, because then the military and all of the other important personnel can do other stuff, and not instead of helping you, they can do more important stuff like helping the people that got in a traffic accident, or re-establishing the grid or the communication way, which is more important, right?
Yes.
So as a responsible citizen, it would be a good idea to prepare so that in a crisis you don't become a liability to the government.
Yes, and even the whole situation, if all people are affected and all enterprises in a chaotic state, you can't control this.
Yeah.
So everybody has to take care and take measures to build a new stability, and this will last a very long time, I fear.
Okay, so the GPS will be working unless it's a CME from the sun.
Yes.
The mobile phone will be working for a few minutes anymore, and the internet is gone in a few seconds or even minutes maybe.
Yeah, it depends on the mobile network or the
and
light
then
line.
The radio is working.
Yeah.
Now when I try to go to the gas station, it will not work anymore, because most gas stations don't have a backup power generator.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why, because a backup power generator is not really expensive. So if I was the president of Austria, I would say I would make a law and say all of the gas stations and all of the supermarkets have to have a small power generator that at least one cache can be open, right? Why is this not happening?
Because we haven't had a problem the last decades, and so it was not necessary, and so everybody is telling you why it is costing, because it's not only to buy something, you have also to train it and so on, and so this increases the costs. And we have done the different things the last years. We have many organizations said this is stranded investment because I never need it, and it costs only, so we have to be efficient, so stop that.
Yeah, but a power generator, a small one, costs like 500 euros, and it must be enough of power to power up a cache so that people can pay with cash.
Yeah, it's not that easy most often, because you have to direct connect it, and it will maybe functioning.
Yeah, with cash, with real cash.
With cash.
So it doesn't. The credit card won't work because there's no connection to the credit card system, right?
Yeah, and also the cash machine often needs the connection to the central server to get the prices and so on. And so in most cases this won't functioning. And we have also seen this with a fuel station. They have installed an emergency generator and then trained this with the fire brigade, and the second fire brigade car was not be able to get fueled because they had no connection to the central system of the registration cash machine.
Ah, okay.
And so there are so many technical problems behind possible
solutions, no? Okay. Yeah, this is a problem. Yeah. So the European grid is facing more and more problems, as we just discussed. What about the grid in the USA? Do you know something about that grid?
As far as we know, the problems are much bigger in the USA. Because of privatization of the whole infrastructure many years ago or decades ago, like in California, but now also in Texas and in other states. And so the people are used that there are more problems, and so they are prepared. And this is the biggest lake in Europe, because we are used that everything is functioning all the time. So we have no preparation for such events.
So what happened in Texas exactly?
Yeah, there was an extreme weather event, and so it was very cold, and different power plants like gas but also wind power plants stopped to functioning.
Why was it because of the cold? Or?
Yeah, yes.
So
they freezed, or some control system freezed, and so it was not. They were not able to production electricity anymore. So they had a lack of electricity and a high demand because of heating and so on. And so they made brownouts to prevent the blackout. And
So it was not a blackout, it was a brownout?
It was only a brownout.
Okay.
Because they thought they were even a few seconds or minutes away from a blackout, and it would have last weeks to restore the systems.
Wow.
So it was not really a blackout, only a brownout.
And still so many people had broken pipes in their houses, and because they don't have a winterized equipment, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
they are not used to this cold.
Yes.
And it's not normal, of course.
Yeah.
So, and it was a real problem for many people. And even after that, I heard that the electricity price after that soared, and everybody had to pay, I don't know how much money, because it was so costly to repair all this stuff, right?
Yeah, not only to repair the stuff, but because it was the less energy available, and then the free market says the price is increasing.
Okay.
And this was very, very high, yes. But we see it also already in Europe, so we have 10 times higher prices than last year at the moment. So it even could raise in the next weeks again much higher.
So the electricity price has risen, the gas price, the natural gas price, and coal.
Yes, and this is connected. Yeah, it's connected.
So now we have less in the storage, less gas in the reservoirs, and now the demand is rising. And at the same time, they are turning off coal plants and nuclear plants. So it cannot work, no?
No.
If you have common sense, this cannot work.
No.
So that's a real problem, and I hope that our politicians wake up and do something against it, no?
Yeah, you can make very just political decision in any direction, but the question is how long will it last to work? Because if you say you want to stop now the switch off of the nuclear power plants, it's not possible because it's gone. There's no personnel, no material, no spare parts, and so you can't do this. And we have seen it so often during the last years that politicians are changing their mind and go in a completely other direction, and so nobody is interested to make any investment, because if you don't know if this is still true the next year, you won't do it.
Okay. So something must happen until they act, until they start to act.
Yeah, it was the way we did it in the past, but in this way it is completely dangerous because we have such a huge interconnected system, and if this fails, the damages are
apocalyptic.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard that after 3 days, when there's no security and people run out of food, they will go looting and do a lot of, bad stuff, because they have to. Because if you have a child at home who is hungry, you go and get some food, no?
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what is the situation in England right now?
In Great Britain as whole, or especially also England, it's more dangerous because they are connected with Europe, but they have their own system. And we see since months or even more years increasing problems, and so maybe they will have a blackout before the Central Europe system will collapse.
Okay.
And we have seen this also in October when the prices raised up to 4,000 euro per megawatt hour, which normally costs less than 100 euro or a pound.
What?
Yes. So you see that there is already a big problem, and so even if there a colder situation could happen, it will get the Great Britain will get really big problems. And we have seen it also on the other hand in the supply chains, because of the Brexit and the lack of drivers and so on. They have already big problems. They have stopped to produce fertilizers. And so they have big problems already in the food supply in general.
So the lack of electricity is not only bad for us humans, but also it causes a lack of production in food supplies and also in technical parts like chips and so on.
Yeah.
So everything gets disrupted, and it doesn't necessarily has to do with the pandemic, which is also contributing to this, but also it's a problem on its own, because a blackout is very likely to happen on its own also, even without a pandemic. But altogether, we are in a very dangerous situation, and it can quickly escalate.
So we have to expect to see in the near future more and more crises getting together at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe it will not happen, but I think the most important thing is that we are expecting that more and more crises could happen in the near futures. There are many signs about, and if we are prepared mentally, I think it will be much easier to handle the situation. And
so your advice to everybody who is watching this video is?
Prepare and expect crisis, major crisis in the near future, in the next years from different sides, and look what you are needing for your life, really, what's really important and what it's not that important, and try to come out with less of energy, with less of consumption, and then it will be also okay to handle such situations.
Okay, so we can get through if everybody prepares.
Yes.
And if we keep a cool head
Yes,
and
yes.
try to stay a society and not try to fight each other. That's the most important thing. So if we start fighting each other, then it's quickly over and we will be back in Stone Age. So we still have to believe in our humanity and try to help each other out and take care of each other. Maybe also share some food with your neighbors, because you're not going to make it without your neighbors. You need your neighbors. You need them for various kind of things, like for example security, because you cannot stay up 24 hours and never sleep to guard your house. You need your neighbors. You need to involve your neighbors. Maybe also your neighbors have some special skills, like being a nurse, or maybe someone has a well on their property that you can get water from, or maybe somebody has chickens. So I think it's better to form a community, to make a pact with your neighbors, instead of being a lone wolf and trying to stay home and shoot everybody who is coming into your house. I don't think that makes sense, because that will lead to total apocalyptic situations. So
and as lonely fighter, you won't survive very long. No chance.
No. So it's always good to have a good relationship to your neighbors. It's a good survival strategy.
Yes.
To be nice to your neighbors, right? Okay, Herbert, thank you for your time. I think the blackout is a real threat to us, to all of us, in the Western world, both in Europe and in the USA, and maybe also Canada. I don't know about the situation in Canada. Do you know something about it?
Not really, but I think they are also better prepared for,
because it's always cold
crisis.
there. Yeah, they have to be better prepared. So
and it's also important, it must not be a blackout, it can be something else we don't know now. The problem is always the supply chain system. We are used just in time, just in process, logistic, and if something disturbs this, we get in really big troubles very soon.
Okay, so thank you for this interview. It was very interesting to talk to a real expert who knows about this stuff and who has researched the topic for over 10 years now. Yeah, thank you for your time. And I really hope that you have changed the mind of many people in terms of preparedness, and that they should prepare, because everybody that is prepared will be one less to become a liability, right?
Yes.
So thank you very much, guys. And in the next video, I will make a video about how you can prepare yourself in your household, what stuff you should buy, what kind of foods, and what kind of camping stove or heating devices will work in a blackout. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned till next time.